These are new metal releases for June 12th, 2026. This was a pretty big weekend, so I have some doom metal from Denver, Colorado, melodic death metal from a band fronted by an ex-Nervosa singer, a surprise crossover thrash EP, a solo album from the ex-Nightwish singer, an unplugged album from a German prog metal band, some sleaze metal from the early 90s, and a solo album from a member of Skid Row. So let's get into this. First, I have the self-titled album by Khemmis. They are a Denver-based doom metal band, and the album was released on June 12, 2026 via Nuclear Blast Records. This is their first major record in 5 years since 2021's Deceiver, and the album marks a musical shift toward a high-energy, stadium-driven heavy metal sound while preserving their foundational death doom elements. The album was recorded at Flatline Audio in Colorado, and the album artwork was painted by Christopher Remmers. The album features 8 tracks, and it is a mix of modern and classic doom, something along the lines of Candlemass and Pallbearer. There are lots of melodies and melodic vocals that are combined with some heavy guitar riffs. There's some harsh vocals, which can be heard in the second track, Corpse Bloom Garden. There is a good song called Grief's Reverie, which slows things down, and they combine some heavy riffs and acoustic guitar moments, and there's a mix of harsh and clean vocals. And another song I like called Beneath the Scythe has some pretty cool tempo changes and a pretty cool jazzy breakdown. And I like the song Tomb of Roses. It had a mix of heavy doom riffs and classical sounding acoustic guitars. Overall, pretty solid doom metal, and my score will be 8 out of 10. Next is the band Twistlock with the debut EP Surplus Citizen. It was released independently on June 12, 2026, and the band is based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Phoenix, Arizona, as well as Mobile, Alabama. They're a 3-piece. They formed in 2024, comprising of Wade Taylor on vocals, Cameron Bloomfield on guitar, bass, and vocals, and Dakota Martin on drums. And the band plays some aggressive hardcore that can be compared to bands like Knock Loose or the Kasha Strain. The EP has 4 tracks. Your Mistake opens the EP. It sets a tone. The track gets heavy quickly, and lyrically, Your Mistake is about the corruption of politicians and celebrities that are heavily consumed by the masses. The song talks about manipulation and fake personalities, and it's followed by a song called Get Bent, which is another angry track. It deals with fake promises and the loss of future possibilities. Then there's a song Constituents, which is spelled differently. It just uses a word I can't say on YouTube, but another song about corruption in politics and features a brutal percussion, heavy riffs, harsh vocals. Last track is called Imbecile, and it's about people's obsession with social media. Overall, not too bad. If you like that really aggressive form of hardcore, I think you'd like this. For me, 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. Next, I have some death metal with the band Fleshcrawl, the album Epitome of Carnage. The band's from Germany. They've been around for a while. They formed in 1987 under the name Morgoth. Then they changed to Suffocation, but then they had to change it again because of the other Suffocation from New York, and it's their band's 10th studio album. The band plays old school death metal. The album has 12 tracks, runs about 48 minutes. Album opens with some classic death metal and the track Blood Dominion. Then they slow down a bit for the next track called Chapel of Guts. After this, they pick up the pace to get fast and aggressive again with the next track, Grave Messiah. And the album continues with more death metal madness. And then another cool track, Embers of Wrath, has some melodic moments. And another cool track, Committed to Suffer, which one of the most brutal tracks on the album. And then we get to an instrumental interlude. It gives you a breather called Chronicles of Bloodshed. And then the band comes back with more death metal with Rebuilt the Flesh. And it has some blast beats. And then they slow down again with Path of Thorns. And the album ends with 2 bangers called Heralds of Death and Of Fire and Flesh. Overall, just classic sounding death metal. If that's what you're looking for, I think you'll enjoy it. My score, 8 out of 10. Next, I have the band Bloodhunter and Sons of the Abandoned. It's the 4th full-length album by a Spanish melodic death metal band, released June 12, 2026 through Roar Rockavines Records, which is a division of Reigning Phoenix Music. The album has 11 tracks, clocks in at approximately 45 minutes. I had this one as a promo, and I was able to listen to this one on Thursday, and when I heard it, I noticed that the vocalist reminded me of someone, and it kind of sounded like Nervosa, and then I looked it up, I looked at the lineup, and I saw it was Diva Satanica, and she sang with Nervosa back in 2021, but this is actually her main band. But anyway, this is melodic death metal, and it can be compared to bands like Arch Enemy. In my opinion, they sound like Arch Enemy from the Angela years, so a lot of people would like that. And key tracks include The Threshold of Hell, features a guest appearance by Fernando Ribeiro, who is a Portuguese singer and frontman of Moonspell. He does some spoken word vocals, and it's pretty cool. And the other tracks that I like, The Path Never Ends, featuring Laura Gulderman from Burning Witches, and a cool instrumental called The Night is Darker Before the Dawn, and they have a cover song, originally by the band Annihilator, called Human Insecticide. I like this album. I thought it was really good. And I like the lead singer. I think she's a really good vocalist and has this right balance between melody and brutality. So, really good album, 8.5 out of 10. Next, I have a surprise EP by crossover thrash band Iron Reagan called Demonetization. It was released June 9, 2026 via Relapse Records, and this is the band's first new material since 2019, and it features a return of their full classic original lineup: Tony Forsetta, Ryan Parrish, Paul Dr. Guitar Burnett, Phil Hall, and Adam Gilliams. The EP has 6 tracks. It only clocks in at about 10 minutes, so I was surprised to hear this, as I've been a fan of this band for a while now. It's old school crossover thrash. Songs are short, most of them about a minute or under, and very fast paced, and they bring that classic sound. You can compare this band to bands like DRI or modern bands like Municipal Waste. I like the EP. It has lots of riffs. Some songs are pretty cool mosh parts, and as I said, it's short. Not much more to say about it. Just lots of riffs, lots of fast drums, blazing guitar solos. My score, 8.5 out of 10. Next is Tarja with Frisson, Noir, and I'm probably mispronouncing her name, so I'm just going to say Tarja, the lead singer or ex-lead singer of Nightwish. Tarja Tarunin, I'm mispronouncing it, I know. If you want to comment it, go ahead. But this album was released June 12, 2026 through Ear Music and was marketed as the heaviest and darkest record of her solo career, and it marks her highly anticipated return to the heavy metal genre after a 7-year gap since her 2019 release in the Raw. The title is inspired by the French word frisson, representing the psychological and physical shiver or goosebumps triggered by deeply emotional music. The album is basically a symphonic metal album, but there are some modern metal touches. And there are many guests, and they all bring different things to the table, and I feel it gives this album a very unique sound. One of the most uncommon, I guess I'd call it, guests would be Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth, and he's on the second single, I Don't Care. Then her ex-Nightwish bandmate, Marco Hietala, on Leap of Faith. And that was one of my favorites. I just like everything that Marco does. And another person, Sayo Komada, a traditional Japanese shamisen player. He's on the single The Trace Outlives, and not only that, someone you would not expect would be Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he plays drums on the closing track, Against the Odds. Finally, a band that makes sense collaborating with Tarja, Apocalyptic, and they're on the cello-driven track Tango, and I thought it was good. It's kind of album, I'll have to spend some more time with it, but I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10.
Take me back to my boat on the river.
Next, I have German progressive metal band Vanden Plas with AcCult 2. It's an acoustic studio album, and the album contains 8 songs, a mix of original material and classic covers. So, in other words, it's like one of those unplugged albums that bands did back in the 90s. So, the album was released via Frontiers Music SRL on June 12, 2026. It is the highly anticipated acoustic sequel to their landmark 1996 album AcCult, and interestingly, the album comes out exactly 30 years after the original. Some of the highlights include Far Off Grace, a reimagined version of the 1999 progressive metal track. There's Boat on the River, a cover of the classic track by Styx, and there's Postcard to God, which was released as a promotional visualizer single ahead of the album, and they have a cover of Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, and a song called You Fly, featuring a guest appearance on saxophone by John Helwell of Supertramp. It's not too bad. I know this band has been around a long time. I've not listened to them a lot. I enjoyed their last album from a few years ago, and I think this one might grow on me. For now, I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10. I'm not really familiar with this band, but I think it could be a grower. Next, I have Los Angeles alternative metal band Stitch Apart with Medusa. It's their fourth studio album, released June 12, 2026, via Judge and Jury Records, and a label co-founded by producer Howard Benson and 3 Days Grace drummer Neil Sanderson. And the album centers around themes of betrayal, rebirth, and reclaiming feminine power. And the band has taken the concept of Medusa from Greek mythology and using it as a symbol of power. It's a short album. The album has 10 tracks, 29 minutes long. All tracks are collaborations with other bands and artists. And I know the band is labeled alternative metal, which can mean anything. But to me, it's like a mix of industrial and metalcore and a mix of pop vocals and harsh vocals. The band is fronted by Mixie Demer, and she uses various vocal styles. She can transition from clean melodies to these intense screams. The album's filled with electronic sound effects and modern cyberpop industrial undertones. And you can hear that most prominently on tracks like Glitch, Bitch. This is a band they call an anthem for e-girl misfits. And there are, throughout the album, lots of crushing guitar riffs, lots of danceable grooves and catchy hooks. This band is for fans of modern alternative metal, gothic rock, or bands like New Year's Day, Butcher Babies, In This Moment. Something I thought was kind of fun. I don't think I'd be going back to it often, but it was okay. I give it 7 out of 10. Next is New York City sleaze metal band Spread Eagle with The Brutal Divine. It's the fourth studio album released June 12, 2026 via Frontiers Music SRL. I've been following the band since the beginning. I bought their debut back in 1990. I didn't get the next one that came out in 1993, but they made a comeback in 2019, which I remember listening to back then, and this is the follow-up to that one. The band is led by original members Ray West on lead vocals, Rob DeLuca on bass, with guitarist Gian Maria Jomi Pulera and drummer Rick DeLuca. The album has this underlying theme of shedding our beliefs and facing the truth. They've not changed the sound too much. They still have that iconic 90s New York City street rock sound, but they added some modern touches, and the album has more layer arrangements, memorable melodies, and progressive influences on tracks like Flat Earth Vultures and Make Believer. The album has a big rhythm section. They go with the riff-driven guitars. Ray West still has the same iconic vocals. And songs like the lead singles Street Noise and Jail Rat have some fast-paced rhythms with punk rock influence. The band's for fans of bands that came in that weird period between hair metal and grunge. Bands like Saigon Kick, Lillian Axe, and maybe a few others that were kind of glam, but like not really. But anyway, I liked it. Final score, 8 out of 10. Finally, I have the debut studio album by veteran Skid Row bassist and songwriter Rachel Bolan called Gargoyle of the Garden State, released under the name Bolan and released on June 12, 2026 via Ear Music. This record marks the first time in his 40-year career that he has stepped away from the main band to deliver a solo effort. Project was born out of the band's downtime and produced by Nick Raskulesk, I'm probably mispronouncing that, and he previously helmed Skid Row's 2022 release. The album is very personal. He tells stories from his New Jersey upbringing, and he does vocals, almost all rhythm guitars, and all bass himself. The album has 11 tracks, lots of guest musicians, including Corey Taylor of Slipknot on Big Stick, Danko Jones on At War With Myself, Nuno Betancourt of Extreme on Jet Black Universe, Steve Conte of New York Dolls on Bridges, Damon Johnson of Thin Lizzy and Leonard Skinner on Walk Away, and Skid Row bandmates Dave Snake Salvo, Scotty Hill, and Rob Hammersmith, who make appearances across various tracks. There's also a cover of Oasis, Rock and Roll Star, and as for the sound, it doesn't sound like Skid Row. It's more of a punk rock album. You can hear an influence from the Misfits on the track At War Myself. Overall, it was kind of unexpected. I thought it would be more of a glam metal album, but I liked it. The score will be 8 out of 10. So that is all. Check out last week's episode. It will be on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.